Welcome. Today we are live with sparkling Divina Dr. Ann Donnelly from Northern Ireland. Welcome, Goddess.
Thank you, Maria. I'm delighted to
It's such
here.
a delight to have you here. Divina Dr. Ann Donnelly, she's based out of Northern Ireland. She has a long career as a medical doctor. She sits on the Council of 12 and the global leadership of the Modern Mystery School. And it's a delight to be here with you today. And it's a fun tidbit to mention that we've studied at the same university, Queen's University of Belfast. I studied mechanical engineering and you studied the medicine school there.
That is absolutely incredible, Maria. Just maybe a few years difference between us, but that's the only difference.
Perhaps serendipity, yeah. Everything is connected, so we were in spirit there together. Today, the subject is so sparkling, just like you, Dr. Ann. It's living life alive with joy. And this subject just brought me to you because you are the embodiment of this. And we're going to dive right into this. And my first question to you is, can you please share in a nutshell, what is joy for you?
Oh my gosh, Maria. Well, joy for me is a state of being. It's not something that you're going to learn from a book. And it's not going to be something that suddenly, becomes part of a discovery. It is actually part and parcel of your makeup, your natural state of being. And, a brilliant example of this is to watch a child at play and to see them exploring, to see them in that state of, discovery all the time and the joy that they get from that. And we know that as we get older, we put boxes around that. In so many ways, we block our joy. We actually block it. And that can sometimes be conscious and sometimes it's subconscious, coming from the subconscious mind. And so the journey of life is to get back to that state of being, but to still live in a mature way in the world. So how do we do that? How do we marry the existence of living a mature life, making tough decisions in life, negotiating life, and still having that joy inside us? That is the big question. And something for me that was a consistent question in my life, because I knew the days when I was more in that flow and the days when I was not. And I was always questioning myself, what was it that blocked me from that? What was I doing that was keeping me suppressed? The way I would call it is, suppressing myself in some way or another. And the way I like to describe it is that joy is the state of being, but we create boundaries around it. We contain it. It's almost as if it's, dare I say, an unacceptable state of being for our world, because in our world, people don't recognize joy. They find it really, really hard to recognize the state of being. And when they do, it's strange. It's not sometimes within our comfort zone. And in order to win back that state of being, sometimes we have to let go of ways of thinking. Sometimes we have to let go of practices that we've consistently said that we're doing in our life because it's the safe way of getting through life. And that's very much about what the Modern Mystery School path is about. It's to help us to get past the things and through the barriers that we create to living in a state of joy.
So beautifully put. And it's a great reminder for everyone, wherever we are in life, we can tap into that space of when we were children and allow ourselves that joy and living from that place with responsibilities, yes. But so for you, what does it mean to live life alive?
Well, so I used to think, now, before I came to the mystery school, that this was very much about engaging in the things that I felt good about and ignoring the things that I didn't feel so good about. And this was very comfortable for me. It was a way and a means of being able to live life where I could feel happy and content in myself as long as I ignored the things that didn't that upset me in some way or another. Then, when I came to the mystery school, I realized that something opened up in me, and there were various different things that I engaged in. And I know we're planning to talk about that in a little moment. But what happened to me was I realized that life is this massive tapestry. It's not just about the pretty patch over here, it's about the entirety of life. And if I am going to live life alive, I need to engage with each part. It's not about ignoring this, because if we ignore a part of ourselves, that part of us suffers. It's about suffering, and we can inadvertently induce suffering into our lives without realizing it, because we are ignoring a part of ourselves that needs expression, but maybe we don't know how. And when I came to the mystery school, what happened is that I could no longer ignore parts of myself. It was like cutting parts off that wasn't possible anymore, because there was so much light coming in. And if I can just talk to that a little bit, because light is something that shows us ourselves, everything, everything about ourselves. And, how are we going to love, parts of ourselves that we don't even know, if we're not willing to explore, if we're not willing to open up that part of ourselves? And so this, I realized, could actually be a joyful state of being, where life could become an adventure. It was even the parts of me that I didn't necessarily want to look at. If I brought that light, if I brought that joy, which part of contains compassion as well, and it contains those good things that life brings with it. And I don't have to shut parts of myself out. It's like shutting, because I noticed that when I was shutting parts of me out, I was shutting parts of humanity out, people around me. And when I became a light worker, that was no longer possible. I was going to have to really open myself to everyone that came to my door, looking for help, seeking the light. And if I wasn't prepared to shine that light on every part of me, how was I going to be that light for someone else in their life? So it is a state of being in work with oneself all the time, yes, but not so much so that we are navel gazing. It's that, we are actually allowing that light to come in to show us the areas that we need to work on and to action it. That is what living in joy, living life alive is, engaging in every aspect of life.
This is so beautiful, because speaking with you, I feel like I'm receiving a healing. And that is what living life alive is. There's so much energy coming through from you, Dr. Divina Ann. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to live more alive. And I feel seen when you say this. And this is kind of what we need to do to ourselves, right? We need to see ourselves. Yeah, there's almost like a moment here, right? Because coming to these insights about like looking at ourselves fully and wholly, yeah, that is living life alive. With joy, when you can embrace all of you, whatever that is, because we are all unique. And in this journey, where did you start, or what role did the life activation play for you to really embark on this exploration of self?
That's a beautiful question, Maria, because, I was already a very busy doctor. I had so many roles in my life, and I was searching. And part of that searching was, to heal myself, because I needed to be efficient, I needed to be strong, and I needed to be, you know, there for people. And at the time, I was actually working in a hospice setting. And in that setting, obviously, I was working with very distressed patients and relatives. And at the end of the day, I was tired, and I wanted to still have the energy to be able to come home and live my life alive. And so when I studied so many different aspects, acupuncture, homeopathy, various different things, which I give to myself primarily. And then, of course, I was working with patients who were open to these these treatments, these healings. But then I stumbled on something. I stumbled on the Modern Mystery School. And the first ever treatment I had, which was recommended to me by my guide, was a life activation. Now, I had no idea what that was going to do for me. I'll be very, very honest. I was open to the idea of exploration, and I always felt very guided by, I suppose, the light. I didn't have a word for it in those days, but I was guided to come to Martina. And the day that I received my life activation, a switch flipped. And I realized the importance of energy, because that whole session was an energy session. She took and rebalanced the energy connected to my physical body. And that was so nurturing, so relaxing. For the first time, I felt seen as an energetic being. And we know in the Mystery School, we are so much more than the physical body. And for me as a doctor, that was so important for me to know. Because I was treating physical ailments and physical illnesses. And the reason that I was drained at the end of the day is because I was only focusing on that. I wasn't engaged with the entirety of the person in front of me, the energetic being. And so Martina was probably the first person who was truly present to all those aspects of me. And that light switched on. And then the second half of the treatment, she gave me the light using her wand. And that was the greatest gift that anyone has ever given me, because in that moment in time, everything changed. I recognized something. I recognized something that was ancient, something that was part of me. It was like an awakening to that aspect of me that deep down I knew was real, but until that moment in time, I didn't have the evidence for it. In that moment in time, with that life activation, I knew it was real. I knew that what I'd suspected was real, and I came alive in a way that I had not been alive before. And to be honest with you, I wanted more.
And that was the key for you to really perhaps also want more without really having the words for it. Something had changed. And what was your next step to really go beyond the inner knowing and taking more of that light into your daily life?
Well, when I look back on it now, I realize that Martina was holding the light for me. She was a life activation practitioner. And so what a life activation practitioner does is they will hold the light for another god, another goddess, a human being standing in front of them, sitting in front of them. They will hold that light for them. And so the next step, naturally, is for the person then to discover how to hold that light for themselves. And for me, it was the 2-day class called Empower Thyself. And again, I had no clue what I was, going to receive during those 2 days. And actually what I received was a ton of light. A ton of light. If I look back, I find it very hard to actually remember a lot of what Martina told me. She told me tons of information during those 2 days. And it wasn't until later when I became a teacher of those 2 days that I actually realized the nuggets of information that are handed down. But what that information does is it opens up a process within us so that we can contain light at a whole other level. When we start containing that, then we need to know how to look after that for ourselves. And during those 2 days, I was given tools. We call them in the Mystery School, in the ancient language, we call them rituals. And those rituals help us to first of all, acknowledge the energy, acknowledge that light within ourselves, and then maintain it. It's a wee bit like, every day we get up, we brush our teeth to maintain the health of our teeth. when we do our rituals, we get up each day, and that is to maintain our energy structure and to keep us strong energetically throughout the day so that we can flow that light, so that we can actually connect to that joy and that engagement with life, that living with life alive in every moment. It's a consistent reminder. It's a consistent, being consistent means that we can acknowledge that light, and then that light has permission to flow through us.
And it's by and it is by your free will that we say that, right? And stepping into more of your own power, I would say from my own experience, finding my guide or the teacher of the Empower Thyself, when I lived in Boston, I was in corporate and I was busy with fears. I would say a lot of fears were running my life without that I really would label them fears, because externally it looked all great, but then was I really coming from a place of joy? Not so much, perhaps. So would you, in your own words, say that you could tap in more to your passion, your true passion, and live a life of joy coming from a place of passion, the more you do your, like you say, the rituals, right? Like where we can close out what is not ours and bring in that light to empower us to really live from, I want to do this. This is why I came here. Could you explore more about what's your passion, and when you can flow that passion, what happens?
Maria, yes. Once it was really funny. Apparently, I asked Martina the question during the Empower Thyself, and I don't even remember doing this, but she reminds me consistently. I said to her, Martina, could I be one of those things? The thing you mentioned, the guide. Could I be one of those one day? And she just looked at me apparently during the class, and I don't remember this. And she said, yes, of course, there's opportunity for you. So that thing that awakened in me was this recognition of light. And, very often we talk about being a light worker. When we talk about light, do we really understand what light is? What is light? We have physical ways of being able, like in physics, we can describe light as being a frequency, and we have a various spectrum of it, and some of it we see and some of it we don't. And in the mystery school, we often talk about the seen and the unseen worlds. And as human beings living life in the mundane way with the blinkers on, the 9 to 5, having a set way of having to do things all the time, it zaps a little bit of our joy if we're really honest about it. There isn't as much way of being able to express joy and passion. Passion comes when we're living that joy. And we realize that, oh my God, this is something that really, gives me, feeds back, but I'm also feeding it. It's like a constant wheel of receiving and giving. And that receiving and giving is that sense of bringing that light in, understanding that we have to fill our own well first, yes. But the passion that comes when we truly are flowing that into this world that needs light so much.
As you speak, and since I've known you, I vividly see dancing red roses when I see you. Because that's how you live your life. And whenever I see you in the physical, I just, every sense is like embracing a fragrant living red rose. So could you speak a little bit more how you live your life today? Like if you want to share, about discernment, about choices, how do you show up? Like what is your day-to-day life like today, in a in a very condensed form?
Okay, very quickly. When we start recognizing the joy and the light in our lives and how that can actually ignite life, it literally lights it up. You know then when something is going off course a little bit, because you realize, oh, that doesn't feel as fulfilling. And we talk in Empower Thyself actually about this feature called discernment, and about how do we recognize that. And in actual fact, you discover in Empower Thyself so much more about your own senses and about living life according to what we see, we hear, we taste, we smell. Yes, that is our physical senses, but we've got 5 other senses as well. Letting you in a little secret. If you come to empower thyself, you will realize there's so much more in terms of how we can really live our lives. We learn so much more about this in Healers Academy as well, and how to balance that for another person. But we need to know how to nurture that for ourselves, and how to live life. For me, yes, passion for me is all about, yes, bringing a little bit of movement into everything I do, about dance, about color, about expression, about being able to express that light, about being able to share that light. How do I discern? How do I lead my life now these days? When that light is flowing and I am in that flow, I know that that is what I can then, it's creating a path for me. It's creating a day that is lit up. It's creating, and that joy is not just about me. It's about how I share that with others. And especially when you become, when you become filled up yourself, that begins to overflow. And when we are overflowing, we can't help but share that with others. And so we talk about things like the life activation, like Empower Thyself, like Healers Academy, because these opportunities, we can see the diverse backgrounds that we came from. We went to the same college, but we engaged with different, studies, because each of us had passions or things that we wanted to discover in different ways, Maria. Each one of us then discovered the mystery school. Mystery school is for everyone. It's not for one person. It's not for someone who necessarily, wants to wants to know about mysteries, but the mysteries enrich our lives.
So this is a great,
when you
yeah, so
sorry,
like a lot of people come forth to us to really say, wow, guys, you are deep on this path. You're speaking about all these magical creatures and things, and bubbles and sparkles. But my life is not there. Can I really join here? Like where do I start? Like my life is not at all what I want it to be. I have no passion. I'm tired. Da da da. What would you say if you meet a soul like this and there's very little energy to really just say I can do it? Where would you meet this soul, this person?
Number one. And I would listen, and I would hear what this person has to say, because we are, this world is hard, and each person has their own, story, has their own way that life has unfolded for them. And in that, I know that by talking to them, I would offer them the light. But of course, the first connection with that is through the life activation. I would offer them a life activation. And we know it's an 1.5-hour session. It's very much offering a person a new perspective on their life. It's like igniting something very special within them. And we know it's about our DNA. And our DNA is literally the blueprint that we came into this planet with.
And everyone has one, right? Everyone can be lit up through the life activation.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Now, and our blueprints are all unique. And I think maybe what this world is telling everyone is that, you have to be the same. You have to be, you have to look the same, you have to dress the same in order to be accepted. There are many, many boxes, but we're actually designed to be unique. And when you have that life activation, that is where you start celebrating your own uniqueness, your own purpose, life purpose in life, your own gifts in life. And that is a huge key in life. And if you were never ever to meet someone from the mystery school ever again in your life, if you were to have a life activation, that is a massive key and a massive gift to give yourself.
Oh, thank you, Divina. And we could speak forever, I feel, because it's just so wonderful and yummy, I would say, for the soul to hear all these things, because we are all worthy. I'm worthy, you're worthy, and whoever is hearing this, you are worthy too. We see you. And I offer these
Yeah.
sessions that we've been talking about here in Sweden. My name is Maria Johansson. I'm based in Lerum. And you can find me on mariajohansson.com, and you can find Divina Ann and all our international practitioners on Modern Mystery School, IMT.com. And with this, I just want to say thank you, Goddess, for being here with us today. And I can't wait to see you in the physical soon. Divine, sparkling red rose. Much love to you.
Maria, it has been a pure joy talking with you this morning. Thank you for the opportunity. And I just wanted to wish everyone a beautiful day. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.